serve us well. I do not see very many advantages for being, if any, for being in it. So I would not worry one bit if we were out of the UN, and then we wouldn't have to be overly financing the IMF and the World Bank and the WTO and NAFTA. Can concentrate on our own borders, because borders are important. If you don't have borders, you don't have a nation. But that is the area where our government has totally forgotten about us. They do not deal with it. And it's because there are a lot in Washington on both sides of the aisle that endorse the notion not only of the UN approach to things, but to the North American Union. I don't believe we need a North American Union at all. But we do have a serious problem with immigration, and very simply, it is the enticements, it is the subsidies that are given that encourages. If you subsidize something, you get more of it. And the biggest subsidy is that illegals who come to this country will eventually be rewarded with citizenship, which I totally reject. We should not have that reward of amnesty. We should also not have any federal mandates on the states or local communities to provide free benefits for illegals. Free medical care and free education and food stamps and all these things. This is helping to bankrupt our government and our country. We're closing down thousands of hospitals in this country because they no longer can afford it, because they are forced to provide this medical care. And they come because they know they can get it and eventually get amnesty or birthright citizenship. So we have to deal with that. Ultimately, though, the real change in the immigration problem has to come when we have a freer economy, a sound money, a more prosperous economy, where there would be a need for workers. Now they're resented, but there would be a need, and workers coming here, there's nothing wrong with that. And having an immigration program, there's nothing wrong with that. It's the system that we devised where we reward illegality is the problem, and there's no reason in the world why we can't change that with just a bit of common sense. They know all about computers, and they can fudge all the polling, and they know how to do these things, so they don't really exist. There's just a couple dozen or a couple hundred. Now there are a couple thousand or tens of thousands. Who knows? But one thing that we know is we have a lot of people responding, and we do know how many meetup groups are. There's more than 1,000. If you're one of them, thank you very much. But not only that, the real attention we got, you know, money talks, money counts. So all of a sudden, those few people out there on the internet, all of a sudden started sending millions of dollars to the campaign. And that even got the attention of some of my colleagues in Washington. Some of my colleagues, you know, they've treated me courteously but sort of shunned me aside. But all of a sudden they come up and say, wow, where is this coming from? You raise a lot of money. Pathetic and cynical, so I thank you for that. But I do have a few rules in the campaign. Somebody along the way, early in the campaign, coined the word that this was a Ron Paul revolution. Anybody ever hear anything like that? But there is a revolution going on. It's not me alone, obviously. It is a revolution. It's a continuation of the other revolution. Freedom is a very young idea. They accuse us of wanting to go back to the gold standard and back to the Bill of Rights and backwards and all. But freedom is very, very young in the history of mankind. Tyranny is ancient. And when you see the tyrants talking on the stages and they're running for this office and talking about empire and control of your lives here at home, they're representing an old-fashioned evil idea of control of people, and they have no confidence and faith in freedom. Freedom is a new idea. We have to advance the cause of freedom, and that to me is important. It's important that we study and understand it and learn how to defend it so that we're not trapped into saying, oh yeah, you're for the free market. That means you have no compassion, you don't care for people. Well, I think that is incorrect. If you're really a compassionate person, you'll understand why sound money and free markets and property rights are important. I've always been a little bit worried about those on the other side that claim that they're more compassionate, especially when they coin the word that they are compassionate enough to promote some of these welfare programs. At the same time, some of this conservative compassion doesn't strike me easy and doesn't strike me the right way. Because we find out that in the issue of controlling your lives and what you put in your body, it means that under circumstances when the states come along and say to the people that you're allowed to use certain medications for people who are dying with cancer and are helped with, say, medical marijuana, we, the federal government, comes in, even if the state has legalized this, come in and say to the people, we're going to put you in prison if you do that. I don't believe that is compassion. It doesn't work either. Not only should we study and learn how to express ourselves and run for office and participate and move this country in the direction that we believe is the correct direction, that it is. But the very important issue is to put this in positive terms and to let people know that it isn't a situation that is hopeless. There's a lot of reasons why. If we just do the right things, things will work out. If we even have a financial crisis, which means we have to live below our means because we have to do some catching up, if we have that one very thing called liberty and the right to take care of ourselves in a free market, believe me, the country would become prosperous immediately. I mean, very soon we wouldn't have to worry about it. We have great traditions compared to the Soviet system. It collapsed, but it did not have the traditions that we have of private property ownership, voluntary contracts, sound money, limited taxes. I mean, we put those together and we can release all this desire and creative energy that we need to give us the production. Then, if we are the productive nation with sound money, believe me, those jobs that we have lost overseas would come home.